Now, when basically did mass weaponization of data truly begin? It's actually crucial to understand this. We have all of these different clues respective to when this could have occurred. But as we have all these people who worked with all this various material, we do actually have something that really sticks out big. Blood, a massive death toll. So really, we understand these figures. We understand something about this. We really do. We truly understand something about this. If we bother to take some time and patiently look and understand. So one of the important things to understand here is whether or not the Royal German Empire somehow is responsible for this. Now, notwithstanding that there wouldn't necessarily be other players, we have a lot of stuff that has occurred, basically, that we need to really understand. Because we have this timeline that deals with something that's so massive and so mind-blowing, yet it's happened. Because if you consider that troops died while somebody started the war, someone was responsible for the war, you add those figures. And people died trying to escape the war. Again, all of these situations, wherever they are, you have to keep adding in. Now, if you take into account that basically the Royal German Empire ended up doing something else that some people just don't want to admit. They created communism and socialism. They actually created a whole lot of mechanisms with various partners. This was a master spy development operation. And in fact, they're the ones who empower Lenin at a later point in time to do the big deal. So it's crucially important to understand how this occurred, because what happens? Germany funds Lenin and his revolution. This is something that basically is part of history. This is a big item. Here we have the Germans basically funding Lenin. Fascinating, isn't it? So here we have all of this interesting stuff, that leads to what happened, who's being manipulated, how this is all happening, how it's all occurring, And what does this mean? It means a lot more. So if we're going to think about different things such as population stability, demographic influence, there is a way you can try to figure out the architecture of all of this and put it into a quantitative understanding. Because what we have actually is a device. We have this thing that is actually a device that's moved forward, evolving to a modern age, and it, in fact, is one big, huge device that has evolved into being, and we're not exactly stuck with it. We need to realize that something's going on, and we have to deal with what the reality is of it, and what we have to do as solutions to repair our situation and address what needs to be done. So again, I'm going to say what's really going on here is weaponization of data and when it truly begins. Because there's a lot of players involved in how this data gets manipulated. This entire history of how all of this stuff relates to human beings doing something, managing stuff, involving them stuffs into massive types of operations that end up in basically a huge historical situation involving people in the streets, people killing each other, and eventually wars, mass death. And this is something that really is not a game that we need to address more properly. It's crucial for us to realize the truth. We must embrace the truth that there is a reality, that we have a reality graph and understanding that data was weaponized. So if we're looking about all this stuff in mass death, we have mass numbers of people dying from communism and socialism. These are world record numbers. They're mind-boggling. The genocide that is occurring all over the world, and where these things started and where they actually started really taking off in numbers. Because we literally have this period where you get to about 1846 where stuff starts really happening. And this ends up being the blood. Here we're looking at the blood. This is only 70 million people. So if we're actually trying to make a true graph, this doesn't even come close. Because if we're looking at the responsibility of the RGE, the Royal German Empire, engineering and making something, we end up with a graph that's far larger. So once again, the weaponization of data has built something. It's a big, huge machine. It's a device. Now, understanding this device gets you to all sorts of interesting understanding of how the system has to work, what it's going to do effectively, how you have all these different departments, all these different players, all this different software. We can now do it all with software, basically. So, I'm building a game, but it's very interesting because it reveals the tactical truth of what's happened to data. Today, there's no surprise with people. Yeah, your data's getting stolen. Yeah, people are using it for all these financial gains, yada, yada. But they're also using it to steal from you. They're jamming your phone. They're manipulating the stock market. They're basically rigging elections. We have candidates. We have mass blacklists, all connected to what? Electronic devices. Repeatedly connected to electronic devices. COVID, Julie Su, running the EDD, Employment Development Department. Over 1.2 million people blacklisted. She turns in lists to the federal government and says, look, here's the names of people that are entitled to compensation that Congress ordered. And they pay her. And she takes the money and she comes back and divides it into different funds, different accounts, and says, this accounts for this accounts for that, this accounts for this other thing. And then programs a device that she's she'd already had it programmed in advance. See, that's the interesting thing. It was already designed in advance to work a certain way. So telephones had people basically not being able to get through. They wouldn't respond in emails. They just wouldn't respond. Faxing, you could fax stuff in. I did that. So yeah, I did that. I faxed stuff in. So you end up with, that didn't work. So you break out the cameras, you use 3 phones at the same time, hour after hour, day after day, week after week, recording the lunacy of what these people were involving themselves in. Mass blacklisting, the threatening posture of parties when you would try to complain. You finally get through? Well, we only have 4 people. We're assigning 4 people to deal with fraud investigation, to deal with complaints. Over 1.2 million people. They admit they have 1.2 million people that have complained. What about all the others that haven't complained? By the way, I talked to many people. It seemed to me that for every person that I found that did a complaint, there was another one that said, no, I wasn't going to complain. They just went away. They were discouraged. What ends up happening? Mass genocide. Homelessness massively increases. Burdens upon friends and families massively increase. But what does she do? It's different. If you go, hablo no English, they'd put you right through. And you can look at these funds and see these records, how she made it available. She stole the money. She not only stole the money, she wouldn't communicate with people. She wouldn't communicate with business people, business leaders, only union people. She wouldn't communicate with me as a candidate that has mobile archives that does gig work. So I'm blacklisted as a candidate, and I have a fleet of vehicles that's stranded, that needs to activate. A very, very expensive fleet. Not the vehicles, what was inside the vehicles, because it was full of archive material of various types. There was a book collection in books worth more than $300 million. There was also data, incredible programming research. All those really neat cogs of custom designed prompts and different types of notes to do something. To basically be able to bring AI online. See, I was trying to finish up getting the last of what I needed of computers that would have the memory capable of running language models independently, mobilely in the field, to bring the most powerful voter tools in the history of the world, to bring them out to California voters, starting out with, well, there's different ways. Here you go. Here's a question list. I'll show you the links in another video of how big this was, with all the different links that I was designing and paid for. I'll show it to you. These people, what they did is they committed crimes against humanity in the course of their mass election rigging. They did this. This is what they did. We currently do not even have a valid election because we have so many mechanisms that are weaponized items designed attacking people. And the judiciary is not addressing the truth. So myself, when I address this, I say, look, whole thing starts out, I didn't owe anybody a dime, not 10 cents. And all of a sudden, I end up having storage costs going through the roof. I can't keep up with it because it's physically impossible if somebody's going to say, you're ordered to shut down and stay at home. I talk to attorneys. They go, well, Mike, you got a nonprofit license there, and basically you don't want to have them give you a health and safety violation because that could end up affecting your nonprofit license. So the attorney says, yeah, I have to follow these laws, these orders put out by California. But I'm a candidate. So they're ordering my campaign to be shut down as they're taking money with both fists for their campaigns. Now, I'll fast forward for you. I end up losing 34 vehicles, 12 mobile archives in there. Let me use AI for just a moment to show you something. Here you go. This is what happens if you put a bunch of motorhomes backwards on a freeway. This is actually AI. Hello. So I want you to understand, if you have 12 units this size, how many people would be seeing my name on the Los Angeles freeway system as we would circulate and go into different business centers with Wi-Fi of 1 mile, introducing people to the most powerful AI communication system ever introduced to voters in the history of the world. So it's really interesting, that these people basically don't respond. Here we have Bonta. Again, these people don't respond. Then they give you finally a letter to an address, an area that doesn't work. It's shut down. It doesn't work. Nobody responds. No matter how many times you communicate, nobody ever responds. Then they tell you, we have a phone number. You have to call first, and then we'll call you back. They never call back. So what we basically have here is a big, huge tactical table situation of people that are breaking the law. They're committing treason. The word is treason. They know they've been notified. They won't respond. You give them court papers, they won't respond. They cannot stand up like men and discuss things. These people are taking various actions that are like straight out of, the Marxist book of tricks, invented by the, Royal German Empire. So these people are doing things that violate the Constitution of the United States. Attacking archives, that's treason. Attacking the financial core and rug of a candidate. Wow. They're disqualified. Yeah, that's what the articles say. They're disqualified, which means if they can say F Trump, can I say, y'all's disqualified. Would you get out of my F house? Why don't you get out of my house? Y'all's disqualified. See, the Constitution will not allow me to withdraw. See, I've caught these people red-handed, and it says that I cannot be coerced. You see, once I take the oath, and I'm a candidate running for office, that's it. Once I see these people do something, I can never let go, because I know they've committed treason many times over. I'm not allowed constitutionally to let go, because I have to be loyal to the Constitution. Few people understand the commitment and law there. So yeah, these people are running around lying, making ridiculous fabrications. They're like a bunch of clowns running around throwing peanuts. I want to restore everybody's land rights, their land stock rights. And that's going to make, the majority of people in California wealthy, actually. It will. Many people will get $80 million worth of stock. Many people will get $10 million worth of stock. These people, I think they're afraid. I think they're afraid of archives. That's why they attack archives. And I haven't even got into the violent attacks yet. I haven't talked about the over 600 pounds of glass that end up on the ground. About the 8 different locations. These people are violating everything logical of tactical table understanding that our forefathers basically made mandatory because we were grossly outnumbered in the world. And they'd have to work a certain way. That's why we have certain laws about immigration and how many people we can basically allow into the country, how many people can be vetted in, their numbers. And everything on the Constitution starts out with before God and all. That's laying out the big, huge map of the world. And that tactical table map has all the population numbers on it, all the numbers of armies, all the numbers involving basically economic understanding of what would be known. So you can't allow people to change the laws because our forefathers used tactical tables and did the math. You cannot have unlimited immigration because they'll come in and they'll sneak in and sneak a vote and overthrow the government. You see, we proclaim before God and all we proclaim. You see, and the purpose of running in an election in the Constitution is to see which candidate is going to promote prosperity better, promote welfare. The original word of welfare is the marketplace, the well-being of going to places to do market and business in a fair way. So you would have financial wellness. See, people are totally confused. They've now changed words around. They're poisoning people's brains. But there are solutions. There are solutions. It's called, these people need to go to prison for the rest of their life. Maybe some of them need to face the death penalty. But we need to be, sane people. Stand up, do a board, take our time, go through this information. So I'm on the verge as a candidate to declare a state of emergency in California involving this particular election because these people don't want to pay me the money that they owe me. The state of California owes me billions of dollars, and they don't want to pay me, and they want people to keep falsely testifying. They have the audacity to claim that I'm maybe late paying for some sort of fee or permit or whatever, but they owe me billions of dollars. More than 10 million felony charges against these people. So they're caught red-handed in election rigging. Get out of my house. You're disqualified. You can never, ever vote again. You people can never run for office again. Get out of my house. There's 7 different positions that I need to appoint people in. Plus, I have to create an emergency board, which means I'm going to have to gather up a whole bunch of samples out of the candidates out there and deal with this problem. The voters have to be disclosed. These people are blacklisting the truth from getting to the voters. The truth. These people have overthrown the government in California. They've cheated. They've been using mass demographic weaponization designed to destabilize people's lives. That's called mass economic sabotage. It's defined as treason. I'll say it again for those of you that are slow. The word is treason. Nobody commits mass economic sabotage because that's genocide. And we see it all over the streets. People are dying all over the place. And we're seeing all this massive fraud. And these people go into back rooms and continuously keep redesigning weaponization of mass demographic attacking to destabilize. Okay, so this is Michael Crosby. Technically, I'm a billionaire. People don't understand that. It's related to digital assets for the most part. Of course, there's a lot of vehicles. But, the thing is, I'm going to remind people, too, on the truth, it's not the first rodeo. These people have a long-term involvement in mass dereliction of duty. As we would keep catching people doing things illegal that are government employees. So we can't have the voters endorsing people illegally because the voters haven't had disclosure yet. It'll probably take 3 special elections to guarantee that ballots go in the hand of every voter that will go through that checklist. Did you know this item? Oh, well, here's the web link. You're going to need to go inspect this various information. I'm going to show you the extensive, more than 1,200 special websites I was building. More than 1,200. The most comprehensive addressing of important issues in this state, in history. The most advanced technological methods. And I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep going. These people have committed treason, and I have the evidence. And all they want to do is keep lying and lying and lying. So if you people actually want to repair California, you really do need to get with my campaign. Talk to me. Because I'm the guy with the evidence that's going to put the people who've been ruining your lives in prison for the rest of your lives. I understand what mass weaponization is of data and how they've used it illegally in more than 10,000 instances where it's a violation of the Constitution of the United States. Please, people, remain calm, be sensible. I want you people to grab a hold of your sanity and realize what you just heard me say. It's very important to your future, to your kids' future, because you want your kids to have the land stock that these people have swindled you out of. I'm going to fix all of that. Michael Crosby, yeah, I'm a candidate for governor, but I should be the governor right now, according to the Constitution of the United States. These people are in my house and they're cheaters. They're disqualified.